Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM with myself, Kate Tracy, Andrew Mack and Dave Young. And the pair of them are suitably suited and booted. Now, that is going to be ahead of our Royal Ascot preview, which is going to follow this show because we're giving you a Brucey bonus today. We're going to be looking ahead to this weekend's action before, of course, our next show is going to be our Royal Ascot special. But before we get stuck into the action from York, Sandown and a Brucey bonus at Chester, first and foremost, a reminder to please subscribe to GG's YouTube channel, but also please vote for us on the Smart Betting Club Awards. Of course, we won last year and Andrew had a fantastic time on the tipping front then as well, for plenty of awards and accolades to him. But more importantly, the show won the best podcast. So please, again, get voting for us on Smart Betting Club Awards. We would really, really appreciate every single one of your votes. Now, I keep saying before we get into the action, before we get into the action, we had better have a reminder for last week's results because it was a great time, but also a frustrating time. Now, Dave had the 1-2 in the 225 at Haydock. Of course, Iron Lion and Knightwood both returning at 11-2. And then I rounded off the TriCast then with it giving Struth a favourable mention. But Dave is probably feeling a little bit sore though, because of course Moorlam, who's a 7-2 shot, but was matched at 101 for £1,500, while beaten by 125 to 1 shot. But Andrew was also filling the places though, suggesting Aviation Time, who was advised finishing third at 10-1. And Andrew also had a near miss with Park Street 12-1 second to the very well backed Billy B. So good day. Well done, lads. But very frustrating all the same. Hopefully we can go that one better than this weekend. Right, we're going to begin at York with the 150. This is the Queen Mother's Cup handicap for female amateur jockeys. 0-90 contest. 3-year-olds and over a mile 4. Dave, seeing as you're wearing a tie, you get to go first.
Thanks. And also thanks for reminding me about how much was matched on that horse at 101. It's madness,
very
isn't it?
welcome.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the beauty of the flat, right? You do have like a few of the hard luck stories, but then I think like Iron Lion that did win, I think Knightswood that comes second, Andrew put up, probably would have won that with a clear advantage. It's the nature of the beast, right? It's why we love it. I'm not sure this is why I love the flat racing when you've got female amateur jockey races, and that's not to be sexist or anything like derogatory about there. It's just any sort of amateur type races in these spheres. You know, it's like at Cheltenham when you get the Kim Muir and stuff like that as well. There are some that are potentially better than others, but they're a bit like a novelty race. Probably a bit rude of me to say that. But what makes this race less of a novelty is the fact that I get to say Baryshnikov again, because I think Baryshnikov's got a proper chance in here. Now, it is 1 mile 4 furlongs, which is a trip that he's only tried once. He has run 1 mile 3.5 furlongs before as well. But it's the fact that he's now coming out of Class 2 handicaps that I like the fact of for the horse in here. Just going through the notes because there's some stats I got with him when he's run before, right? He's run at York, 4 runs, I think. He's posted an 87 and a couple of 88. 2 of those RPR numbers have come in Class 2 handicaps as well. Handles any ground. The only thing with this horse is he does need them to go a pretty decent clip because he does his best work late, and if they haven't gone fast enough early on, then he can get sort of tap to toe in the latter stages. But these types of races, right, where again, I'm not saying this in a negative way in the slightest, but they can get a bit excited, can't they? The amateurs sometimes can fly off. We see it in the Fox Hunters year after year, although these will be better jockeys than the Fox Hunters. Again, no disrespect to those. I'm offending everyone, and
offending everyone, just a sweeping offence.
You're doing fine. I've got a problem with you apologising for offending people after you've offended them. Just offend them and get on with it.
Okay, I'll offend them. So the bad jockeys will go really fast in this race, which means that Baryshnikov will have a decent pace to aim at. So that's going to suit. When he ran over, I think it was 11.5 furlongs. That was in a Class 3 handicap, but the trainer commented again in there that they just didn't go quick enough for him to do it. But when he ran over 1 mile 4, he ran pretty well. The 11.5 furlong race where he was they wouldn't suit it by the pace of the race, he was actually sent off favourite for that race. So I can't believe he's 16-1. He's won off a £2 lower mark at Redcar earlier in the season. He's been kept really busy since. They've made lots of nice excuses since as well, like not getting a clear run and saying about the ground being too quick, things like that. He's versatile in terms of ground. So it's a long-winded way of saying I like Baryshnikov anyway, but 16-1 about him, 5 places up for grabs in a race that will 100% be run to suit. And although 1 mile 4 might not be his absolute optimum, the way this race will pan out will be ideal. Like, they wouldn't go typically as slow as they should. So Baryshnikov at 16-1 with 5 places up for grabs has to be the selection in the opener.
Yeah, and it is an each way plus race. You've just said there, 5 places on offer with BetMGM, 16-1 about Baryshnikov. Not a bad way to start. Andrew, you've never cared about offending anyone on this show, so who are you going to offend?
I'll offend Serena Brotherton. She's
Okay.
not the jockey she was, and one of my systems at the moment is to lay every single horse she rides, and she's on the 8-1 third favourite, Lord Melbourne. I mean, Lord Melbourne is quite interesting. He was a massive price in the morning before his first run for the Rafe Beckett yard last time out at Epsom. I bet him, I think he was 66-1 with one of the firms, 80 on the exchanges, got off 11-1, finished 5th, got beaten 2 and a bit lengths, you know, a big punt. Bit gutted not to pick up any each way money for that. But yeah, Serena Brotherton takes the ride. Stall 9, that's borderline here. There's a very strong stat associated with this race in the draw. Stall 9 or higher in the last 10 years, which is 9 renewals. 1 win from 47 for those drawn that high. So it's much better to be drawn in stalls 1 to 8. You could bet stalls 1 to 8 blind and make a profit. So I did have a quick look through all the ones who were low drawn. Certainly from what we've seen at York so far this season, the low draw will be handy. And the interesting one I thought was a range trained by Todd Hunter. Good effort here last time out from a tricky draw. Now that was 1.5 mile handicap course and distance, and the winner came out of stall 2, was in touch with the leaders. Runner up stall 1 in touch with the leaders. The third was stall 7, and Arrange I thought did really well to finish 4th from stall 17 that day after coming late and wide down the outside. So Arrange each way 7-1. If you sort of take the draw stats at face value, you're probably going to be getting 4 places or even 5 places. About what is potentially a sort of 9 or 10 runner race. So yeah, Arrange each way 7-1 to me.
Under last year's winning jockey as well, then Jodie Townend getting the call up on Arrange after she won this race. Kievar, I think it was, then last year. So yeah, you've definitely got the right jockey on board for that one. Right, we switch to Sandown now for the 205, a 0 to 100 handicap, 3 rods and over a mile, 6-1 the field. So yeah, as ever, as it feels like for these flat weekends, Andrew, not an easy one for you to kick starters, but please do exactly that.
Yeah, I was about to say it was a 7-1 the field race, but I think it's 6-1 the field now because Dancing Magic has come in for some support. The mount of O'Sheen Murphy, although you look at his record, 0 from 13, that's going to be a worry. I thought Mascapone was quite interesting for Jamie Spencer and David Simcock. Now, because they're racing at Sandown on Friday, I don't think they're moving the rail out for Saturday, so there won't be any fresh ground. So I think it's sort of good to firm good in places, watered, and there is some rain forecast for the start of racing on Saturday. So it could be that they open up the ground on Friday around that inside rail on the round course, get a bit of rain in it, and it ends up riding softer. And we see the winner of this race come late wide round the outside from a high draw, which has often been the case in recent years. So I thought Mascapone, trap 15 under Jamie Spencer for David Simcock. We know how that's going to be ridden. That one was half interesting. The other one, stall 16, Great Blasket. This one's taken off since Blinkered. 5 runs, 3 wins, 2 seconds. Those second places by a neck and latterly by half a length to Arian Power at Nottingham. So he's in great form since the headgear went on. And you look at the others. Hiramichi, I was half interested in if it got a bit softer. Now, since this one was fitted with cheek pieces, had a real touch of the Oxos. Sort of 5th, 1, 9th, 1, 4th, 1, 7th. So if that Oxo pattern continues, he's due a win. Although that latest win came on soft ground, so perhaps he could do with a bit of rain. The worry also is he's got Sylvester de Souza on, so he's likely to go forward, and there's plenty of other pace angles in the race. And so I'd rather be on a hold-up horse who's going to come wide. So Dual Identity is the other obvious one to mention as well. His last 4 runs at Sandown have produced 3 wins in a second. Stall 3 might not be super solid for that one though, and his price seems to be covered. His chance seems to be covered into current price around about 13-2. So I'll narrow it down to 1. I'll just go Mascapone each way, and hope Spencer gets there in time.
Yeah, definitely. So 12-1 though in another each way plus race. 5 places on offer in this one. And Mascapone, great name for a horse, that isn't it? In the 205 at Sandown. Dave, who did you like?
Well, I like one that's probably not drawn where it needs to be, but I just tend to not mention the draw so much as a negative when they're in these positions. Again, we're going to Moorlam last week, was given the absolute plum draw at Beverley, wasn't it? And then just fell out the stalls and then had to make his way through runners. So there is definite relevance to the draw stuff. It makes a massive difference. But there's some horses that I liked the look of before final decks came in and we found out where they were drawn, and it's not enough to put me off a couple of them. So you keep trying to put me off my horses, Andrew, and hopefully I'll save myself a couple of quid.
Don't listen to him. Don't let him get to you.
No, that's it. This race, though, like Flying Frontier was the one, right, that I thought had a bit of a squeak. I think like it's an obvious squeak as well. 3 handicap runs this season, and probably, so either frustratingly or annoyingly, if you backed him, you'd say that he's been a bit disappointing, I'd say. Up £4 from the opening mark, because that again shows that he's been running all right, to be fair, even though he hasn't been winning. But last week's Iron Lion, I'm just a little after time again, that one off 88, which is £7 lighter than this lad is. But the reason I've brought him in there is because Flying Frontier absolutely battered that horse. That was he's maiden quite a while back. Flying Frontier now, like the drop back in trip to 6 furlongs, I think is like ideal for him. Potentially quicker ground, and it's like good to firm right now. I think all of those things will help. He's got James Doyle booked up on top as well, so I would be expecting it to be like a potentially winning effort in here. But he's clearly going to run within the places. So I don't know why I said the 6 furlong, it's 1 mile, but he's back in trip. I think he's 1 mile 1. He started at 1 mile 4, then he was 1 mile 2. But I think Flying Frontier will definitely be in and around the frame. So I feel like it's a fairly safe selection. I'm a tiny bit worried about the draw now it has been mentioned, but 6 to 1, 5 places up for grabs. I feel like I'm being a bit safe, but Flying Frontier gets the vote.
He's taken 2 of the 3 of my favourite boxes here. James Tate, Simon Anna. He's not by Night of Thunder, though. That's the only thing he's missing from this. He's by far. But other than that, totally love everything about his profile. Right, we move back to York now. This is for the 225, a 0 to 95 handicap. 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. 7 furlong specialists to the 4, we hope. 8 to 1 the field, Dave. There you go.
Proper Saturday race, this one, isn't it? And I like these ones because, especially when we've got Royal Ascot around the corner, it's like when Cheltenham's round there. Sometimes the racing can be, I don't want to say like less competitive, but like less classy. Again, I don't want to be offensive, but I'm going to be a little bit. But like this is a proper Saturday race. But I'm also excited for the fact that there is one horse I've been waiting to drop down in class for quite a while. I think he's an 8-year-old now, and that one is Boardman. He's going to end up getting smashed as well by the time this goes out. So he's top price 14 to 1 at the time of recording, but he's a general 12 to 1 shot. I think that's going to continue to shorten up. Again, there's extended places within here, but there's 20 runners, right? So when you're getting a fifth of the odds, 5 places, that's just what it should be anyway for these horses, shouldn't it? I'll talk about him dropping down in class. His last run, right, I was already waiting for him to come back in class, but his last run was pretty eye-catching anyway. Jockey was looking down, and I thought maybe he'd lost a stirrup or something. Maybe he was checking to see if there was something amiss with the horse or whatever, but for whatever reason, I don't think there was anything up because he managed to finish out the race quite well. And I thought he ran all right. So the fact that they were looking at there was something a bit amiss was, I don't know, potentially a bit of a positive I was looking, but I was trying to make a case for the horse before he'd even run that last time anyway. But it's been over 2 years since he's raced sort of at this level. He was 4th of 16 over a mile. But that was the problem, right? He was over a mile. He's a 7 furlong horse all day long. His last 2 runs below class 2 before that were both, at this trip anyway, they were both winning ones. And one of them includes over course and distance on good ground. That is going back all the way to May 2021, but he posted RPRs of 97 back then. He's twice been to York since, done a 94 and a 96. So again, while it's been 2 years since his last visit to the track, those sort of numbers and the mark that he's running off now, dropping class as well, like he's got to be around there. And that's why I'm saying I think he'll significantly shorten up, because he was 14 to 1 across the board before. That was just the wrong price. As much as it's a competitive handicap, when you get a good horse like this that drops back in class, it was a bit of a price rick, I think. So he'll continue to shorten. I would still fancy him, but obviously he doesn't win that much, does he? So I would want a little bit of cover. And I get to cover with one that ran terribly last week that I put up, which is Eligible. But Joanna Mason's been chucked off by the Easterbees. I mean, I don't know if that's fully what the case is, but I was expecting a pretty decent run, but was bad out the stalls, out the back, and then just never really got into contention. Reached a point where was being ridden, and I thought I was actually going to come on and maybe make a bit of a challenge, but just didn't at all. But the reason I put it up last week was because it was very eye-catching here when it ran the time before. Now, eye-catching and got traffic troubles, and I mentioned that I feel like it definitely would have beaten Pro Pay Power when they ran at York last time. But this horse, or that Pro Pay Power, did come second to that well-backed Billy B, didn't it? So, or was it not Billy B? But the one that won the race. Anyway, Pro Pay Power ran well. I feel like Eligible could have run better. They've dropped Eligible another couple of pounds for it now. So definitely off a winning mark I thought it was before. It's even more generous they dropped them back. So as much as you need luck in running a 20-runner handicap, that was that race before that was a 20-runner handicap where she was eligible with eye-catching. And I think I'd have to have a saver on that. So I'll split across the two of them. But they're both big enough prices. I think you can fairly back both of them. Boardman's 14's top price, like I say, general 12 to 1 shot. Eligible's as big as 20s and will probably just continue to drift.
And another each way plus race, 5 places on offer as well, but Eligible about 20 to 1, and Boardman, like I say, sort of a general 12s. Then about Chris, who is another one of our unofficial mascots, Mr. Mounts of this pod. So great to see Boardman back again.
Yeah, I've backed Chris the last couple of times at Chester. First time on Chester Cup Day on the Friday, I was up there. I sort of tipped him up in a hospitality box, and although he was only 8 to 13, I thought it was a good old effort because you know, the front runners never came back, and it was desperately difficult given his come from behind running style. Next time out, as Dave says, he's met trouble. Ben Robinson's looked down on him, so I can see him running a good race, even though we're out of the sort of peak period when he tends to win, which is sort of April, May, after he's had a run. You look at his record in June, he does tend to sort of tail off, so that would be a worry. I think at 12 to 1, I can leave him alone. At 20 to 1, I might have had a fiver on just to sort of get back what I lost on him last time, kind of thing. Carnival Zane was semi-interesting, although his last 3 runs have come in July. Last 3 wins have come in July, August. 25 to 1 from Mickey Hammond. I thought maybe he'd need this run and then we should back him next time, but keep an eye on Carnival Zane for the future. The other one, I was also interested in Eligible based on that 7th to Riot here the time before when poorly drawn. Couldn't back him last time at Beverley because of the wide draw, but some people did, and he did shorten up from sort of 16s into 11s, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Eligible go well. But I might just throw a couple of quid at Golden Pharaoh. You sort of delve into that French form. There are possibilities that he's reasonably handicapped off 83. First run for Scott Dixon, nicely drawn in stall 2 for one who did race prominently in France, and given the yard he's gone to and how their horses run, I'd imagine he's going to be on the front end. So I've not looked at the pace map, but if it looks like there isn't a great deal of it, and Golden Pharaoh could be the one just to go well at a silly price, but no confident selection from me here.
No, it's very tricky to have one of those, admittedly. 20 to 1 though, about Golden Pharaoh, all the same. Right, back to Sandown now for the listed Scurry Stakes for the 3-year-olds over the flying 5 furlongs at Sandown. A Day in Devon, the wonderful filly that is the 9 to 4 market leader for this one. 3 places on offer here with BetMGM. So Andrew, who's the fastest of the fast?
Yeah, this is fascinating because when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, A Day in Devon, 9 to 4, that's short about a filly taking on colts and geldings, as she's, since she's been enlisted in Group Company, her only win has come in, against her own sex in that race at Bath. But then I looked through it and thought, hang on a minute, they're all fillies. Have they changed the conditions of this race? And I went back to this, I think this race first started in 2007. In that time, there's always been sort of 3, 4, 5, even 6 geldings or colts in the race. So it just seemed really odd that it's effectively a fillies listed race, which is great for A Day in Devon back against her own sex. So having initially thought I can draw a line through her at a short price, I'm now sort of, I think she's going to run well. She's a sort of probably one you can bank on for the place pot. But in terms of a bet in the race, I'm going to go with Dawn Charger. My theory with this one is that she needs a small field. Like a lot of fillies, she tends to sort of meet trouble, lose her position when she's racing against a lot of rivals. She's had 6 runs in fields of 9 or fewer runners, 3 wins and 3 seconds. Those second places by 3/4 of a length, 1 length and a neck. And she's got form in group races, mostly in France, admittedly. And she probably needs some cut in the ground. But if they've overwatered, check. Rain arrives, check. Then 14 to 1, I could certainly throw a few quid at her each way.
Okay, then an each way possibility as well. But like I say, it's worked out beautifully for A Day in Devon, taking on just all fillies. I also had to double check this, Dave, and I'm pretty sure, unless I've completely missed something, this isn't just for fillies, but yeah, still just for the 3-year-olds over the 5 furlongs, but only the girls are rocking up.
Yeah, and it's a real good race as well. Same as the handicap before, that's your classic Saturday race. This is a nice listed race. I did the car before the prices came out, so I was looking at it slightly differently, but I had a bit of a price discrepancy between the one that I'm going to put up and A Day in Devon. It's quite a nice looking race, because you do get some of these ones where, I don't know, it might be 5 to 1 for 5 or 6 of the horse, and you can make a case for a few of them. I think you probably could make a case for quite a few of these, even where Andrew's touched on there with Dawn Charger. That's like a top price 14 to 1. So I think I can see why A Day in Devon is the price that it is. I do understand what Andrew said about the fact that it's just against her own sex and this is their level, so you can see why she's the price that she is. But I think a few are going to shorten at bigger prices. There's a tiny concern about the ground for the one that I like, which is Graceful Thunder, but she's a course and distance winner, already a listed winner. Just didn't seem to have it under the bonnet last time when they asked her for an effort. So I think she's entitled to have come on for that run. They've taken their time with her since as well, which I quite like. So obviously this time of year with the flat, they're normally running probably like once a month type thing, but they've taken a bit of a break. So maybe something was amiss, which is why she didn't particularly fire that day. Ended last season though taking on Big Eves at Doncaster, which was essentially a Group 1 race. So obviously that's way beyond what she's capable of doing. But before that, she was only a half a length second in a Group 3. So dropping back to listed company as far as I'm concerned here. I know her last one was listed company, but would semi-line through that. I was a bit surprised to see that she was as big as 9 to 1. General 8 to 1 shot. There's a dead 8 in here as well, so we're getting first 3 places. So like Andrew touched on with the place pop perspective, A Day in Devon's probably a banker for it. Graceful Thunder, I would imagine, should be there or thereabouts as well. And I think her and the favourite are almost like a carbon copy of each other. The ground would be a tiny bit of a question mark. The ground is definitely, the ground would be a little bit of a question mark, but this is definitely their level in terms of being a listed race. But there is a £3 difference in their ratings, and there's a £3 difference in what they're carrying. A Day in Devon's got to give it to Graceful Thunder. So just too much of a price discrepancy between the two of them. Horse is my hand for Graceful Thunder, but look, course and distance winner. I mentioned the fact that she's run against a Big E's and then been half a length second in a Group 3. She's probably got a proper chance, so I can see her shortening up. 8 to 1 looks generous.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like I say, a big price then, especially a course and distance form to your name over this pretty specialist track then itself at Sandown. Right, we go to the 3 o'clock now at York. This is the Race to the Ebor Grand Cup Stakes. This is a listed contest, 4-year-olds and over a mile 6 in this one. Now, prices, I'm just waiting for them to update, actually. There you go, 5 to 2 the field now, Dave. So at least this market's got that bit more of a shape then to it, but not a big field to go out in comparison to a few of our other races.
Yeah, this is one that the viewers will be pleased to know, because I haven't sat one out for a while. This will be one where I'm going to talk for a tiny second, but I think I'll sit it out in terms of selection. There'll be one that I'll tell you that I'd be in favour of, but this was a mad one when I was looking through it, really, because Relentless Voyager, that is the head of the market, you look at that, improved for being gelded, which sometimes doesn't happen for these horses, was a nice winner last time out, but I just thought was outclassed on the penultimate run, which is faced off against Real Dream in there. Just looked like that was a better horse. And I think now they're stepping up a couple of furlongs. I think Real Dream would have the measure of Relentless Voyager. So I started to think to myself, all right, well, maybe Real Dream's going to be the one. But now Ryan Moore's not on him. And then I was thinking, well, that's a little bit strange. So then I started to look a little bit further through the runners as you do. You go through each of them, don't you? I saw Chess Piece was in here. So I thought, when he ran behind Middle Earth, we know what Middle Earth's doing now. Clearly, he's a very good horse, but just doesn't seem to be throwing it in. Maybe like now back to the 1 mile 6, it's going to suit him. But geez, you'd be reaching a little bit to try and say that he's going to win, especially with Paul Mulrennan being booked as the jockey. I can't really see that as a positive. But Klondike, Ryan Moore is riding this horse. he hasn't really shown what I thought he would do. I think most of us didn't think, like, well, thought he would have been a better horse than he has been since. I'm just a bit stumped with it. Like, I know the owners have got some sort of clout in there, but I was semi-tempted to say that Real Dream would be the selection. The fact that Ryan Moore's on Klondike isn't enough to weigh me in to say, actually, I should probably be betting Klondike, because from a form perspective, I couldn't really have him. So it's a bit of a muddling race, to be honest with you. So the market does have it so that plenty have got chances. They probably have got it, but I can't really see a way in with any confidence. I think it would be a race you could run 5 or 6 times. You could get 5 or 6 different results. But I also imagine it will be a race that something will absolutely hack up. And then if you look at it in hindsight, you'd be like, well, that was obvious. I just can't find that what that is. But I'm sure Andrew can.
Oh, nicely teed up then. I'm sure he can. And I'm just going to ruin that segue and that lovely throw that you just did, Dave, and interject and now throw to Andrew myself.
Well, I was going to play my get out of jail free card, thinking Dave's
no.
going to waffle on for hours about each of the runners, and it won't matter. I'll get away with it. But now I better try to come up with something a bit more interesting. Now, the one that I thought could run well at a price is Divine Jewel, the 14-1 outside of the entire field. It's the lowest rated horse in the race at 97. But Roger Barron's mare goes extremely well when fresh. Her 3 seasonal debut efforts, second by half a length. In 2022, second, albeit by 5.5 lengths. And then last year, reappeared in this race, finished third at 12-1 in a 6-runner field behind Quickthorn and Isra. Now, she was rated 102 that day. The two that beat her 112, 111. There's nothing rated above, I think it's 109, 108 this time around. And you look at her other record, other runs when fresh. She went close, beat the short head at Longchamp in September 2022 off a break. Last season, she returned from a short break to finish second in listed company at Chester. She probably needs more cut in the ground, but the third in this race last year was on good to firm. If the rain does arrive and there's a decent pace, which it could be as well, particularly with chess piece blinkered for the first time, then I thought she could be in the first 3. I mean, some firms will be offering sort of top 3. Certainly on the exchanges you'll get that, or you could play sort of total exactas and trifectas and sort of have her to finish sort of second or third behind some of the others in the race. But I'll go Divine Jewel, and I hope she runs well at a big price.
As the outsider of the field as well, 14-1. But nicely done with coming up with a way then to play this race. Yeah, card both of you using your get out of jail free card. So whoever is fortunate enough to go first gets that card. Right, hopefully neither of you will have one then for our Brucey bonus race at Chester. This comes up at 320, a handicap for 3-year-olds over 7.5 furlongs here. Witness Stand 9-2 favourite, 8-1 bar about the remainder though, Andrew. So it's all about the one horse heading the way. Yeah,
I mean, Witness Stand's still 12, 9-2. Surely, he's got a drift from that. I know he's got Holly Doyle on board, and I think last year's winner of this race was drawn in stall 10. But that has got to be a major concern. So I'll take him on at the price. I also want it to be against Love Billy Boy, despite loving the name. That new market second to Keita Kotai. He was flattered. You look at that race, there were 19 runners. The first 6 came from the 6 lowest stalls, I think. And I'm pretty sure they've all been beaten, or a lot of them have been beaten next time. I Love Billy Boy stuck out in stall 11 as well, which isn't particularly helpful. So again, just going through the draw, I was drawn towards a Terabb from stall 1. If in doubt, back the stall 1 runner, Chelmsford and Chester kind of tactics here. Only 6 last time out at Ascot, but I'll just take a chance on Terabb to take advantage of that draw. But it wouldn't be a confident selection.
If in doubt, back the draw then at Jesse. Yeah, drawn in 1-12-1. Terabb, each way plus race. So this is with BetMGM of 4 places on offer. Dave, are you looking to utilise that?
Probably will, yeah. But I come to that at the end of my notes about the fact that, I'm going to mention it again, More Lambs made me really nervous about the
really got to you, hasn't it?
I can make a case for Witness in here. There's other horses that was going to continue through the season, I think, where I can make a strong enough case from that, morally and mentally, I feel like they're a win bet. But obviously with the luck in running and stuff like that, when they're afforded to be an each way price, which some of these are, it does make me consider it slightly differently. So yeah, the extended places in these ones are definitely helpful for the case I'm going to make for Witness, because again, I have done all this stuff before the draws have come out, and I do obviously do the trendy bit sometimes as well, where I'll say that they're drawn in certain places to help. But it is like an additional thing that's in there. If I look at a horse and I think it's going to win the race, yes, you don't want to be drawn in the absolute horror places, but look at like City of Troy and Derbies. People say you can't win it from one. They're fine, they go and win it. So Witness, I do really like. Runs off 97 again in here. Twice won at Chester, one on his debut, so like got really, really good course form. And then, I mean, anybody that goes and looks at the form will see the names of horses this horse has been running behind. Andrew touched on the fact that Holly Doyle's on, Danny Tudhope's down in Sandown, so it's a decent jockey booking, and it would be a jockey booking that would suggest to you they think that Witness Stand has a proper chance. As I say, it was handicap debut last time, second to Never So Brave. That was an even money favourite, well supported, well backed, and won well. So to come second to that's no terrible bit of form line, I don't think. Before that was behind Notable Speech. I think that horse maybe won a big race earlier in the season and will be featured on our Ascot preview. Had Persica in front in that race as well. Was getting £4, Persica was. That won Derby Day at Epsom, didn't it, off of 92. So there's winners in that race, not just the one that won the 2,000 guineas. He ran behind Hartem earlier on in the season and stuff when he was running at Goodwood. So I just think all those bits of form, regardless of whether he's really well handicapped or not, would just say that he is better than a handicapper and kind of feels a bit like the proverbial group horse in a handicap. 9-2 top price, those extra places that are up for grabs, I mean, I would definitely be all over him. So I genuinely think this horse has got proper chance of winning it. Tiny bit worried that there's something that's a bit like more unexposed in here, because for all this is his second start in a handicap, or third start in a handicap, sorry, the second start this season in a handicap. He's run quite a lot, hasn't he? So we sort of know where we are with him. He should be a bit better than 97, but there could be one better handicap. So I'm pretty confident the Witness Stand will be right there. I think he'll probably win as well, but the each way concessions and more lamb again making me feel a bit nervous. I'll back him each way, but I think he's got a good chance.
Yeah, it's really stuck in your mind, the whole Moorland thing, hasn't it? And to be fair, I don't blame. After 101, matched at 1,500 quid. Oh, horrific. 4 places on offer, though, as I say. So definitely still just about that each way price, in my opinion, anyway, then, for Witness Stand to be giving you that extra little insurance policy. Right, we're signing off in this section of the show at York with the 335. Now, this is a 0 to 105. Sprint handicap, 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs, and I'm chuckling to myself because I've seen the betting and it's 7 to 1 the field. So again, these races, they just get better and better. Each way plus race again though with that MGM with 5 places on offer. So Dave, you've got your extra places, so no room for complaining, please.
No need to complain at all either, because I will take full advantage of the each way places, because the horse that I fancy, I think is grossly the wrong price in the first place. Ooh. So I believe by betting the horse each way, the relevant way that it would work out, that obviously you'd lose a bit of your win stake, but you get some place money back, would probably pay out the same as I would have this horse priced out anyway. And that horse is Elmonjed. Pretty easy one to find as well, right? Handicap debut last time out. Jim Crowley was on board, 6 to 4 favourite. Just the comments on the Racing Post say outpaced, but I just think he got lazy, and they've applied the cheap pieces now. You've got Chris Hayes coming over for Ireland for one ride because Jim Crowley's with Mr. Tudhope down at Sandown. It's fully like a jockey booking like that is fully telling you that this horse is probably going to go and win. Now, I know they could wait for opportunities to get Jim Crowley on board, but they want to get this race in. He's rated 90 for that first handicap run. He's been dropped £1 for it down to 89, but they fancied him to be good enough to win that race. I know this is a slightly better class on paper, but I can't believe he's as big as 7 to 1 in places, or 6 to 1. I think he definitely is still top price. Looks a little bit mad. Yeah, I think he's really good. I think the cheap pieces going on now because he raced lazy are a big addition. So lots of these horses that have headgear and stuff on, like I'll mention him again, it's bad on it, but Silky Wilkie had the cheap pieces on. Never really came across to me as a horse that would need it, but you trust that they're doing it for the right reasons. I'm not saying that's the reason that he got beat on Derby Day. Who knows? It could have been. But Elmonjed's the type of horse where you look at him run and you think, oh, he's crying out for having the cheap pieces on. They've also dropped him back to 6 furlongs as well. So where it said he got outpaced last time out, I am not having it. I'm not having it that they went fast enough in that race that he couldn't keep up with them. He could have done. He can go faster than that. So I think the fact they dropped him back in trip, Chris Hayes is coming over from Ireland, the cheap pieces are on. I just think it's really good. And also, right, there is some form that goes with this as well. It's not just the fact that he was a short price and there's a decent jockey booking. His Haydock novice win, he gave £7 to the second and third. It reads pretty good now. The third is rated 95 himself. And his maiden winner as well when he beat Sheikah. And there was another horse that dead heated for second. Forget the name off the top of it. Try get it up. Having a great time. That is rated 88. So he battered him that day. He's running off of 89 in here. He's definitely better than his mark. And we're getting a stupidly big price about him as far as I'm concerned. So cheap pieces are on. He won't be lazy this time. Elmonjed should be a short price favourite for this. And short price is obviously like, I guess, up to interpretation of how you'd go in there. I'd have this horse probably like a 5-2, 3-1 poke, I thought it'd be. So I'm more than happy with the 7-1 with extended places up for grabs.
Yeah, and like you say, that's top price then. 5 places on offer, 6-1 Elmonjed with that MGM. But the fact that Dave would be happy with 3-1, then you just goes to show exactly what price then he is for this lightly raced individual. William Haggis is getting all different sorts of jockey bookings this weekend, here, there, and everywhere. Bullish from Dave. Andrew, are you likewise?
Tricky. I mean, it's an obvious one to come down on the side of, because William Haggis, York. But then you sort of delve into the stats for this race. Horses who run over 7 furlongs or further last time out, 0 from 27 in the past 10 years. That's 9 renewals. Handicap debutants 0 from 30, and horses who had just one previous handicap run, like Elmonjed, just 1 from 38. Blue points in cheap first-time cheap pieces, 0 from 9. Small sample sizes admittedly, but some of those with short prices. And of course, Elmonjed's half-brother, Kanjar, wore first-time cheap pieces in the Wokingham, finished 13th. I think it's an 11-1 shot. So, but is well drawn, admittedly, and is running at York for William Haggis, who, of course, we know does so well at the track. So, wouldn't surprise me greatly to see him win. But I want to back him at sort of 6-7-1, probably not. I mean, draw-wise, it seems you want to be drawn very low, still 5 or lower in this race, or stall 19 or higher. Now, if you bet horses who would have 2 or more previous runs in handicaps, drawn 1 to 5 or 19 plus, you'd have had 6 winners from 28 bets in the past 10 years, profit of almost 40 quid. The qualifiers sort of James Delight, Almirada Prince, Imperial Guard, son of Knight of Thunder, who could do with a bit of rain, and the Coffee Pod. So, yeah, I was just going to sort of probably perm those 4 stalls 1 to 4 in combination exactas and trifectas, and just hope that I get extremely lucky. Serried Ranks was another one to consider as well, coming out of stall 7 for Rafe Beckett. But yeah, it wasn't a race that I was massively keen on. If you want me to pin me down to 1, I'll go Imperial Guard from stall 3. I hope the rain arrives.
Appreciate you narrowing it down then to 1. He is an 18-1 shot as well, Imperial Guard, but do watch the weather then for him. Right, that is everything from our scheduled races. Andrew, back to you please for anything from anywhere else this weekend.
Just a mention for a bait in the 520 at York. Stall 15 might not be any good, but by the time of this race, the 520 will know whether that's an advantage or not. He's got touches of Mr. Wagyu's about and tends to come good in sort of June, July time.
The touch of the Mr. Wagyu's. Only racing people will understand what that means. Dave, anything from anywhere else?
Not horse racing, but I do want to just give a good mention that it's the Ground Derby quarterfinals, the start of loads of competitions that we run there final night. So Saturday and Sunday, there are some stunning greyhounds in action, 2 like 12 or 13 race cards. So if you've never been interested in the dogs before, just watch the racing over Saturday and Sunday. They'll be running over the next couple of weeks. So you get like linear form lines, but there's some proper action going on. Got Euros going on as well, didn't we? And then it's Royal Ascot. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Like I say, Euros kick-starting, Olympics to come, top quality horse racing, greyhound top quality racing as well. If you weren't a sports fan,
don't forget the general election.
Oh yeah, the Jenny Leck. Yeah, exactly. Who could possibly forget? Yeah, that as well. Also just as enthralling. But in terms of sports fans, what a time to be alive. Right, Dave, your nap for this weekend, please.
I mean, the worst part is it was definitely going to be Elmonjed until Andrew started reading off the stats, because I did look at those. I just didn't want to be reminded of it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do an each way double. I'm going to do the 320 at Chester Witness Stand and then the 335 at Elmonjed, and each way double. I'm pretty confident they'll both win, but each way double nap.
Each way double nap. Goodness me, we're mixing it up then. I like this a lot. Right, Andrew, match that.
I'll go Dawn Charger in the 240 at Sandown and Scurry Stakes. Each way, sort of 14-1. 6 runs in single figure lineup, 3 wins, 3 seconds.
Okay, very well done. Now, you may have noticed that I have not given a nap and I'm also not in a normal location. I've been filming all this morning for another podcast. Believe it or not, I do more than just one. So unfortunately, I have not been able to look through any of the declarations. So again, it would be irresponsible of me to be giving you any sort of betting advice. So I'm happy to leave it over to the lads then and wish them all the luck in the world with their naps and all of their selections, and thank them for all of their hard work. Also, thank you to our sponsor, BetMGM. Thank you to you for watching. Make sure you say exactly where you are, though, because our Royal Ascot preview special will be coming your way very shortly.